Hello, welcome back to another Steve Goes Out and About. I'm sitting down here at Ware Bottom Church battlefield. It's just a little linear park the county has put out in Chesterfield here. Um, what Virginia's known for the Civil War. We had I forget the exact number. I read somewhere it's like 70% of all battles during the war had taken place right here in Virginia. And we got these little linear parks all through the county. Even have some houses even have some trench works, dugouts actually in their yards. So I mean, it was a highly contested area during the late part of the war, 64, 65, stuff like that. They were fighting to save Petersburg, and this was one of the skirmish lines they'd set up, trench lines. You know, they'd have layers of protection, and this is one of them they had to secure. This here Ware Bottom Church battlefield is part of what they call the Howlett's line, which was a trench line running from the Appomattox all the way to the James. And so I'll be interested in getting out there. I hadn't been to this park here. It's been here, I don't know, a dozen years maybe. Just had never been out here. So we'll see what's going on. Ought to be pretty interesting. Well, let's see what we got down here. Old Ware Bottom Church battlefield. I'm gonna pause this here for a second. Y'all can pause it and read it later. But it talks about where the Confederates and Union line were during the Battle of Drury's Bluff, Battle of Bermuda Hundred campaign. The county has set up a whole bunch of these little linear parks like throughout the county. They're all over the place. You got trench lines running through people's yards around here and stuff. This here's really interesting. Talks about the dugouts. They think this might have been the spot of a church. I don't know how well it's going to show up on here, but it's a big old hole in the ground. Probably, I don't know, 75 long, 40 feet wide or something like that. But I had an uncle that was in Vietnam, and he sent back a picture of one of their little dugouts they had over there, and it looked awful similar to this one right here. And he had a sign out front telling you how it was built, wrote on a piece of cardboard box. He sent it back to my aunt. We're coming up on a double row of trenches here. It's very interesting to look at. They got a actual gun emplacement on the other side over there behind me. But you can see how close we are to a building over yonder. You got one row of trenches here, and it goes all the way through to the other side. There's another building over there, but on the other side of that building is another one of these little linear parks. These are actually dug by the soldiers back during the Civil War. So here you can see how it goes, snakes right on up through the woods there. And there's another row of them right over yonder too. All these trench lines and these earthworks over here are actually part of what they call the Howlett's line. This was the Bermuda Hundred campaign of it, and it stretches all the way from the James River to the Appomattox. It's wrote on one of these signs out here. I'll give y'all a look-see. And this here's the backside of a gun emplacement. We'll walk around the trail. When we come back, we'll hit the front side and give you what it looks like. But that big divot right there in the middle is where the cannon would be located. Of course, they'd have to blow this tree down now. Interesting. Here we're coming up to the turnaround here. It's about a half-mile back on this little trail here, and still got that trench following. It goes, like I said, it goes all the way to James River, which is across the main highway up yonder. Down there Dutch Gap there, Henricus Park, where I go fishing at. There's an old trucking company here on the backside. But like I said, right over, no, it's right that way, I believe. It's where the other linear park is. So this curves around. Once it would have curved around back then and headed on down to the Appomattox. I mean James. Appomattox from here is straight that way. I say that way. Here's the front side of that daggone gun encampment I was talking to y'all about. See how they got the place there on a flat spot, aim that cannon that way there, and they could swing it this way here, they could swing it that way there, they could fire left, right, or in the middle. They give you a little pictures of how it would have looked back then. Now this one here is actually taken in Hanover on North Anna River, but it's an example of how it would have looked here. And this is kind of how the trenches looked back then. Well, it is how they looked back then, but it's it wasn't taken here either. But you can see how it overlooked everything. And this here's where that cannon looked, right through them two rises there. And they had a spot over here and a spot over yonder in it. Kind of interesting. That was 100 years ago. It was 150 years ago now? 160 years ago now. Right, 160 years ago. I'd have been under bombardment right now. This is something I find interesting right here. Every so often on these in this trench line here, you have these little entrance and exits to the actual trenches. There's one here and there's one over there. I don't know if these would be gun emplacements or what, but I've never heard anybody interpretation to them why they would be like that. They got a good set of earthworks over at Petersburg National Battlefield Park. They have 2 layers in them, where you step up on here to fire and you step down so your head's below the top, and you can reload and step back up in them. We're coming up on another one of them big dugouts where they could have put a store or another kind of headquarters or something down in there. These are all throughout here too. From what I hear tell, according to that first sign about the church, that this stuff followed the groups, the armies, because this here, I mean, it's right on the front lines here, and they had a church here, and they had a sort of like stores, PX kind of things for soldiers following them. But they had to dig them dugouts, and then they covered them with wood, trees and stuff, and covered that with dirt again, and it protected them from any kind of shelling that could happen. Unless it was direct hit, they were pretty well secure. So there's another one of them big dugouts over here. Sorry, Buzz, there's no relic hunting here. It's a county park. I just had to slip that in, boss. Well, man, that was interesting. I enjoyed the snot out of that. I'm going to have to bring the baby back. She's been wanting to stop. And so I told her, hey, man, I'll go out there and check it out and see what's going on. And that was interesting, man. I was really interested to get an up-close look at them daggone trench lines. You can do it over at Petersburg Battlefield, but you can't get, I mean, right up on top of them like that. They built these bridges where you can walk on them. And I enjoyed the snot out of that. It's interesting to see what that is. You know, it's, I mean, this place here ain't a half mile from the house. So, I mean, I can come here anytime I want. And like I said, I want to get to the one on the back side of that. This one here is Ware Bottom Church. And I think out and over there is called something else. It's the same, it's part of all the same earthworks. I can't think right off the hand. But back during the war, these two lines would have connected. It wouldn't have been that big old building right down there. And it goes all the way down there. It goes right up through that park where I used to, where I do my walk at. Because right on the other side of that park's the Appomattox. So, but I enjoyed that. It was a pretty day out today. So I figured, hey, I'd get out real quick. Well, it's Saturday. I had to go to my little lady across town. And on my way home, I figured I'd stop. I brought my water with me, a jacket and everything, so I'm good to go. But y'all take care. And we'll talk to y'all later.